London lies, where corruption and evil reign. This summer, the fight for truth continues. The Red Pill Project, Alpha Warrior, Defcon 0.
Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken. The violence causes silence. Who are we mistaken? Tanks and their bombs and their guns and their guns. Your head, they're crying. Your head.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
What's in your head?
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. There is nothing the political establishment will not do.
Defcon 0.
Let us get us full strength. It gets me pumped up every time, bro.
It does.
You want to give a shout out to the dude that made that video for
Nate
us?
from Upside Down Media, guys. You can follow them on Rumble Upside Down. And I'm gonna say it right. Media, all one word, on Rumble. I'm actually gonna put the link in the chat for everybody in the Rumble chat. You can see that. Go give them a follow, man. They got some great content out there. The other video that we did last week of War was also done by Upside Down Media. And, man, fantastic. The best intro in the world, people.
I agree completely. It gets me all freaking pumped up. I'm watching the chat and I'm watching the intro. It just gets me in the mood. I mean, you see me in the background, just jamming to it, ready to go. That's just pumped. You guys, do us a solid if you're here. If you've enjoyed the last 2 episodes, then do us a solid. Smash that thumb. We're gonna buy a little bit of time. Let the crowd grow. It's already growing big time on Rumble. Oh my gosh. Look at those numbers. It looks like my old truck speedometer just.
I think they like us, Ma.
I think they like us. Tonight's going to be a fun show. We have a couple things that me and Josh wanted to cover, and there's some things I wanted to ad-lib too, and maybe get some real-time thoughts and the process going. One of the things that kind of is going to set this show apart is we do want, interactiveness from you guys. We want to build on that synergy, help us discover things or look at things maybe the way none of us have ever looked at them before. And that happens with the brilliant minds that are in the chat. So like you've done the last 2 weeks, leave us some comments. If there's a post you have a question on, if there's something we said and you think that there's a different perspective to it, hit us with it. I'm always up to be like, you know what? I didn't think about it that way. And I'll start digging into it and I'll be like, hey, there was a there. Yeah. So me and Josh might be the guys on the screen. But you guys are definitely the family, especially the Badlands family that's out here at that Badlands shirt.
So
right
let me do a 5-5 comms check. I just switched my microphone. It was on my webcam mic. So if you guys can hear me better now, because I know everybody's commenting my mic, I can hear Josh. So if you guys can hear me better now, give me a 5-5. Let's see that and tell me if this is much better. If it is good, We hear better now. Better. Josh's mic is too low. 5.5, 5.5. Okay, we're coming 5.5 now. 5.6s too. So we're getting 5.6s and 5.5s. Great.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And whenever you guys see it or an audio thing, you don't be embarrassed. Put it out there.
Oh yeah.
Because we're in the studio, we don't always hear it the way you guys do. So Josh was coming in fine for me, so I would have never picked up on that audio issue. So again, we're family. We got a couple of ads to get through real quick, so let's get these ads taken care of, and then after that, it's game time, folks. So while the ads are going, like I said, share this out, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching over there on X, share it out. If you're watching over there on YouTube, share it out. Let's get the crowd going tonight, because it looks like we're about to hit that 2,000 mark on Rumble. So with that, let's get into tonight's first sponsor.
What's up, Badlanders? It's summer, it's hot, you're probably sweaty and dehydrated, which is why you could use a nice tall glass of electrolytes from Conscious Strength. Instead of sugar-laden Gatorade full of food dye,
you're drinking the wrong water.
These electrolytes are naturally flavored and sweetened. Zero sugar, so they're keto-friendly. The sodium comes from pink Himalayan sea salt, and they have a healthy dose of magnesium and potassium to help you replenish and recover. And at less than $1 a serving, they're cheaper than those sports drinks and most big-name electrolyte brands. Drink your electrolytes on a hot day to rehydrate. They're great pre or post-workout, and also awesome for a hangover recharge. And for the rest of July, they're 15% off. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/strength to grab your can. Plus, use promo code Badlands for an extra 5% off and to support your favorite grassroots media company. One more time, that's badlandsmedia.tv/strength. Link will be in the description below.
Howdy, Badlanders. Looking for something new to grab from your friends at Badlands Media and Rise Attire? Summertime is here. We got you covered. All new tank tops for men and women, featuring new iterations of the Devolution design in black, red, white, and even blue and green digital camo. Sick. We got them for Cywar and Clown World too. How about these bad boys? Cywar, Clown World, and Devolution beach towels to help you spark up a conversation with your new best friend or future spouse at the pool. And by popular demand, we've got all new athletic women's leggings that'll have you red pilling all the ladies in your Pilates class, whether they like it or not. Too bad. This is Badlands, baby, and we're strapped. Get some and support the new media parallel economy as much as fucking possible at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
Again, the links to both those sponsors affiliates is down in the description below. To Content Strength by Jordan. I did this past weekend, smoked some brisket, had some family over, and had some brewskis. Hadn't had brewskis in a very long time. And so the next morning I woke up and I was like, that sun probably went a little too hard. So put some of that Content Strength in my water and mixed it up. Man, stuff's good. Tastes
awesome.
Even the
So
flavor.
I want to do this again because I went and listened and I'm still low and people are saying my volume's still low. So I want to make sure that we are good now. If I'm better, I had a refresh. So hopefully that helps. StreamYard just doesn't like me sometimes for some reason.
Yeah,
So
see.
let's see if I'm better now.
I'm going to take off the automatically adjust mic volume.
I think I'm better now.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, whatever you just did, I even heard you louder. Maybe because I took that thing off. We'll see. We'll let the audience know, because I know right now when you talked, you blew out my ear.
Okay, sounds fine. It looks like we're better. So let's rock and roll, man. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
Well, let's go. So out of the gate, I have a post, and it's a delta to today. The image itself, I don't know what kind of relevance we can find there. I wanted to kind of just, get our brains warmed up, but there's a statement in here that I really like. So let me bring it up on the screen. Again, this is from today.
Bring the whole post, because I can decode this and explain this for people in the context of what Q does.
I love that. So here it is for those that want to follow along. This is post 1760. Again, it's dated July 29, 2018. And it reads, Michael, it's a screenshot from Michael Avenatti's old X post or Twitter post. Says, "This week promises to be very interesting. Might want to follow my Insta handle, MJ Avenatti." And it's a clip from the movie Top Gun, if you guys remember the original Top Gun, not Maverick. And it shows a Russian fighter jet in the sites right there. And then the post reads, June 10th, 2018, 22:11:35 Eastern. It says, start the clock. A week to remember being in brackets. Think logically. First private, and it says class 5, and then 6 in parentheses, the whole thing in brackets. Second public, Blackwater on guard. Evidence kills. These people are stupid.
Okay, I can break this whole thing down. Okay, the date is incredibly important here, June 10th, 2018, but more specifically, what we're talking about. So Q would drop kind of these types of posts with Michael Avenatti, which mean nothing towards Michael Avenatti, which is Stormy Daniels' lawyer, okay? They're breadcrumbs. They're meant for you to think logically and begin connecting dots in context and comparison. So one thing when you're decoding Q posts, always keep in mind when you're looking at timestamps or you're looking at Trump's post or Scavino's post or Flynn's post is always keep in mind context. Context matters. So in this sense, we have Michael Avenatti, which isn't the true context of this Q board post. It's the fighter jet in the crosshairs. Now, in the post, we see start the clock. As in today, we're going to start the clock. A week to remember, think logically, first private classification 5 and 6. Second public, Blackwater on guard, evidence kills. These people are stupid. Blackwater is a private mercenary group, right? So private military, evidence kills. Now, what happened on June 10th, 2018? Does anybody out there remember? This is one of the ultimate Q proofs of all time. And what Q is signatory to you is exactly starting the clock on that day. Everything's about to unfold. Pay attention. Fighter jet in the sky. Eyes on the target. All right. Right. June 10th, 2018 is the day that Donald Trump did the G7 summit in Canada. Immediately afterwards, Donald Trump left the G7 summit and went to Singapore and met with Kim Jong-un. And before this, we get all of the board comms that are talking about Obama's phone calls to Kim Jong-un are left unanswered, that Kim Jong-un is no longer answering Obama's phone calls because this was just another actor state controlled by Central Intelligence Agency as another boogeyman, and Donald Trump had cut the strings. You remember when Donald Trump was in Singapore, he paid for Kim Jong-un's hotel room, he paid for his whole security detail, and then they went to North Korea. He stepped over the border, first president, I think since Carter or something like that, to go to North Korea. So this sets the precedent for that. But what else happened? Oh, I love this one. So about 3 months prior, March 2018, Q posts a picture of a submarine. And when you reverse image search of it, various different submarines come up in the reverse image search. One of the submarines that comes up is the USS Richard B. Russell, which is decommissioned in 2002. Why is that important for this context and the fighter jet in the crosshairs? It's because when Donald Trump's plane left the G7 summit, it was meant to go west over Washington State and head towards Singapore. But at the last minute, they changed the whole itinerary and never told anybody. They kept it secret and instead went east, went the road to Spain, refueled, visited the military, and then went on to Singapore. Well, what happened off the coast of Washington at the exact damn time that Air Force One was going to be about 100 miles off the coast of Washington? You get the Whidbey Island incident. And if people don't remember the Whidbey Island incident, where it looked and appeared as if a missile was launching up from the ocean.
Yeah, I'll bring it up for you. It's almost like you read my mind, bro. Here you go.
And there it is right there, which the news and everybody in the mainstream media says was a helicopter being captured by a low frame rate video camera. Now, Alpha, I was in the Navy. What did I do in the Navy? I worked on gun missile fire control systems. We launched missiles and shot big guns. Do you think I know what a missile launch looks like from a submarine? I damn well know what a missile launch looks like from a submarine, and that is a missile launch from a submarine. But here's the thing is, well, why wouldn't a submarine have known that they were there? Because they weren't. Well, the submarine was comms dark, River City. They probably were underwater for over 2 weeks on this mission, or even months on this mission, waiting for a time to launch this missile. And you're like, why would the U.S. Navy fire a missile? Well, it wasn't the Navy. And we learned this later on August 10th, 2018. Something happened. And this was one of the greatest Q proofs I've ever seen in my life. A young man at Alaska Airlines decides to go and hijack a Q400 dash 8 aircraft, double prop Alaska Airlines aircraft. Now, I worked for the airlines. I had CITA badges, which give you access into all the different areas of an airport. Now, when you're a baggage handler on the ground tarmac, you don't have access to the hangars. Your CITA badge doesn't work over there. But this kid was able to get access to the hangar, part a plane out, a double prop plane, and while it was moving from, after he detached from the car, jump inside of it, start it up, and take it down the runway, and take off from Seattle Tacoma Airport. None of that makes any freaking sense whatsoever. And he learned how to fly on videos, from YouTube videos. This makes no sense, but he was in the air, and you can hear the ground traffic control going back and forth with him, which sounds very scripted. And he's like, oh, I'm just having a joyride. You know, I don't think I'm going to bring it back, all this stuff. But it's interesting because you don't hear the double props in the background when he's communicating with ground control. It's almost like he's talking. You can hear someone kind of talking in the background when you're listening to the air traffic control talking about it, right?
Right.
So what's he do? He's in a Q400-8 aircraft. He flies out over the ocean, and he does a radar cross pattern around an island known as Ketron Island. Okay? He does a radar cross pattern around this island, forms a circle, and then does a line through the circle, which signifies a Q over Ketron Island. Now, he's in a Q400 aircraft, does a Q radar cross section around the island, and eventually an F-15 starts targeting him. Got him in the crosshairs. The airplane crashes in the Ketron Island. Later on, Q comes out and tells us it was an operation, that the F-15 had a special weapon on board that took out an underground facility. Now, this is really crazy because Ketron Island used to be owned by a defense contractor that decommissioned U.S. Navy submarines. And in 2003, the last U.S. Navy submarine decommissioned there was the USS Richard B. Russell, a nuclear ballistic missile submarine. So Q tells us this. But the catch of the story is that the name of the hijacker, the kid who stole the aircraft, was Richard B. Russell. So at the time when I was decoding, I went out there, I went to the social media. And if you go to his social media, he had 5 friends on social media, all wives of military generals. Shit you not. Okay? So you have Q signifying the submarine in March of 2018 after talking about U.S. Navy ships getting hijacked and running aground, and China is hijacking our ships. He posts this picture of the submarine. You do a reverse image search. One of the images that comes up on the reverse image search is USS Richard B. Russell. You got this post on June 10th, 2018, with the crosshairs in the sight of the fighter aircraft talking about the start. The same day, this Whidbey Island missile incident happens, which was supposed to be a missile that was going to launch a tactical nuke over the ocean, where its EMP was meant to take out Air Force One and kill Donald Trump. Remember, on June 11th, 2018, is when Donald Trump took away John Brennan's security clearance. Okay? And he was going to meet with Kim Jong-un. 2 months later, on August 10th, you have this hijacker, Richard B. Russell, who coincidentally goes and steals a Q400 aircraft, flies a Q radar cross-section over Ketron Island, where Ketron Island just happened to be owned by a defense contractor that decommissioned the USS Richard B. Russell, which is a deep state submarine that used this to launch this missile right here that was supposed to kill Donald Trump. Greatest Q proof in the freaking world, right there.
And for those that are like, well, are you sure you taking that, making that connection, Josh? If you scroll down to the bottom, and for those that are wondering, this one is Q post 1757, dated July 29th. which is also today, which is the reason I had that one available so quick. But when you go to the bottom of this one, it has a Twitter link. And when you click that Twitter link, it takes you to what? The Michael Avenatti post right there, which brings us back to
You want to know the funny thing is I didn't know that.
No,
I shit you not, I did not know that.
That's why, I mean, for the audience that's watching, seeing me with the shit grin on my face, because I'm like, he's nailing the shit out of it right now with it. And again, it takes us back to the post that I brought us to in the beginning, which is where you have post 1760, also dated July 29th, where it has a screenshot to that to bring us full circle into that conversation and to give us fired up. But again, you guys, the deltas today, and if you're looking at it, that start the clock, August is a hot month, Josh.
You know, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, just said last week, and when he was being questioned by the mainstream media about why Congress is taking a recess in August, he says, you know, August is typically that time that we recess and we go back and be with our families, because August is typically a very hot month in Washington, D.C. And what is one of the first Q posts of 2018 in August of 2018 for August is typically a very hot month. And so we're getting all of these signs dropping everywhere. So I am going to reaffirm, I think that you're going to see your first indictment come in August. I believe it's going to be James Comey. I don't know, but I think you're going to see your first indictment from FISA Gate come about in the month of August 2025. That is my thoughts on it. Now, going back to what we just talked about there with Whidbey Island, that's the lengths that the deep state, the cabal, will go to take out Donald Trump, right? They've done multiple attempts on his life. That is one of them, but that one was absolutely covered up. Now, on the other hand, I find it really cool that I was able to put that together without knowing that that was the post that led to that. But that's pretty cool.
Let's do this before we shift into August real quick, because one of the things that you connected for me that I didn't know was that the following day is when Brennan lost his security clearance.
Right.
And the reason that's interesting to me is because the next post that I have lined up for you, because it's also a delta from today.
This isn't scripted, people.
This is not scripted. Listen, I got a couple notes of what we're going to talk about, and this wasn't on there.
I got notes in front of me, and it says organize and clean house, shed and garage.
As a matter of fact, I told Josh, because we got on here probably about 7-8 minutes before the show started. I said, hey man, before we get into some of the things we want to talk about, there's a particular delta from today that caught my interest, and let's ad lib it, on screen, because I'm interested. Let's fire it off, and it's where you would think it's scripted, and that's okay. Shout out freaking Rumble, over 3,000 people watching over there on Rumble. That is solid. We need to build up these X numbers and YouTube. Still love you, family. We just got to work it. But this post right here, this is dated, the post number is 1758. It's dated July 29th, 2018. So it's a delta from today. And it says, it's a post from John Brennan. Your wrong-headed protectionist policies and antics are damaging our global standings as well as our national interests. Your worldview does not represent American ideals. To allies and friends, be patient. Mr. Trump is a temporary aberration. The America you once knew will return. I had to look up aberration because I am a crayon-eating Marine, and it's when something's no longer acting the same. It's a change of behavior, so to speak, in the bad sense. And he's responding to, or he's quote posting a tweet at the time from Donald Trump, dated June 10th, 2018 at 4:47 a.m. And
about 25 minutes after that missile launched.
And I find it also interesting, not because he's just the 47th president, but I'm going to go back to that missile launch. And there was something that I was like, that's interesting, because of the time that Trump put this out at 4:47 a.m. Or I'm sorry, that Brennan put this out at 4:47 a.m. But it says, Trump's post now, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada acted so meek and mild during our G7 meetings, only to give a news conference after I left saying that U.S. tariffs were kind of insulting and he will not be pushed around. Very dishonest and weak. Our tariffs are in response to his of 270% on dairy, which I found that very interesting because that doesn't make sense at that last.
Right.
So
Well,
that wasn't
you know-
me reading it wrong. That was exactly how Trump typed it.
Now, look at Brennan's, and I think that this is interesting to point out as well, because you'll see this from many of the deep state factions, especially those that are like attached to the Weather Underground and various underground communist organizations. He says that your wrong-headed protectionist policies and antics are damaging to our global standing, as well as our national interest.
Now, I want to say something there. Because for those that have been following what's going on with Russia right now, and what's the document? I got to go find it. It was Eyes Only 44, I believe is what.
Yeah,
it was.
I can pull that one up. I have it like right over
Yeah, yeah. If you can grab that, and in there, Obama is talking about all means necessary, including physical removal of Trump. And this is something that Brennan was read in on and understood.
And this is how they operate. This is their comms. And so when they say our, or when they say America, they're not talking about the same America and our country. They're talking about their deep state, basically democracy that they run and operate. That's how it runs and that's how it operates. And that's exactly what it is. So when they say our, they're talking about their entire system. And now, actually, what I have is I have a breakdown of Eyes On. I don't think it's the same one that you were talking about. But let's look at the rest of this Q post. Oh, I can bring it up. Yeah. This was actually posted by Scavino on July 24th at 9:14 p.m. And if you ever thought that the Q stuff was like, that's not real, it's just coincidence, let me show you this. Right here, Dan Scavino, 9:14 p.m., July 24th. He says 1/2017, Trump Obama, and it has eyes. Well, the July 24th delta right here is Eyes On. And guess what? 21:24, which is the timestamp military time, we have it all. Now, that's not a coincidence, people. And this is exactly how decodes and Q posts operate. It's about connecting the strings and understanding the context that's being given. Like Scavino, 1/2017, that's the date of Trump's inauguration. The last time he saw Barry, shook his hand. You have Pence looking at Barry, probably saying, I love you, Barry. And then you have Trump looking him in the eye like, you motherfucker. And then you have the two timestamps, July 24th, Eyes On matches the Scavino Eyes On right here. And the timestamp, you can go through it for your crumb. We have it all. Well, why? Because go back to July 24th. What do we have? Jeffrey Epstein found injured in New York City jail cell after possible suicide attempt on assault. So it's talking about Epstein, which is completely relevant in context today. Eyes On, we have it all, looking directly back to Obama. He's showing the complete loop of it's all interconnected. We got it. Don't worry. Just wait. It's all going to come out.
Keep going because I'm trying to bring something up of additionally to add to that.
Well, and so when we start to, and this is good that we have this conversation kind of in the idea of Q posts. So for anybody out there who doesn't know my history and background, I got involved with Q in December of 2017 and was really kind of confused because I was on 4chan for months and started seeing it and watching it all unfold. I started getting on the Reddit boards. I got on Twitter and I was really confused at what was happening because it was kind of all over the place. And if you remember back in the days, you had people trying to make sense of them. And a lot of people just don't understand military comms and communications. They don't understand how intelligence operates in what we would call secondary communication standardization, right? Of how a spy would actually communicate with another spy in an enemy city, right? So if you're in Germany in 1938, how do you communicate? You're an American spy. How do you communicate with your handler or someone else? Well, you go and put in a blue open sign instead of a red open sign in a coffee shop. That means go to the library and go to shelf 3 on bookshelf 10 and go to book number 7 and open up the page 387, and there's going to be a small little note in there, right? Like that's that asymmetric communication that was happening on the Q boards. And I started complaining about a lot of the Q decoders, and my buddy's like, well, why don't you decode them? I'm like, I will. And so I started as a YouTube channel known as Q Patriot, and immediately got banned. And I never showed my face. I only talked. Started as Q Patriot, and then eventually from Q Patriot, I moved on to Q Patriot again and relaunched my channels. Had a really big following, and then got banned and deleted just like everybody else. And I came back with the Red Pill Project and a decentralized framework for understanding of how information needs to be disseminated. And this is what I've preached ever since, and brought all of these Q posts into understanding the global unfolding conspiracy that we're seeing today.
And I found what I was looking for. So I'm gonna read this to you guys real quick. This comes from an article that was written by Jonathan Gregory, Newsmax. If you guys watched the show last night, you saw this. It's a really short write-up, so I'm just going to read the whole thing so people understand it. It's dated July 21st of 2025, and it says, breaking, DNI Tulsi Gabbard confirms former President Obama authorized assassination attempt on Trump. Again, this is by Jonathan Gregory of Newsmax. In what may become the most explosive revelation in U.S. political history, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard announced that declassified intelligence files implicate former President Barack Obama in authorizing a covert assassination attempt on then President-elect Donald Trump. The files set to be publicly released detail a sprawling top-secret program initiated in the final 30 days of Obama's presidency with the explicit goal of preventing Trump from ever taking office. Quote, Operation Silence was not just surveillance, it was organized multi-agency plot to eliminate the president-elect, end of quote, Gabbard said during an emergency intelligence briefing. Quote, the documents outline everything from recruitment of black ops teams to manipulation of communications to the final phase, physical removal, end of quote. According to sources close to the investigation, a failed attempt on Trump's life was thwarted only days before the inauguration, thanks to an anonymous whistleblower inside the National Security Command Center. Redacted transcripts reveal that Obama, under the pretense of national security, convened an off-the-books task force of senior intelligence officials and military advisors at Camp David in late December. One document marked Eyes Only 44 reads, quote, the threat Trump poses to institutional stability cannot be overstated. Removal, if necessary, is justified, end of quote. While Obama has not commented publicly, legal teams are reportedly mobilizing behind the scenes as the files prepare to go public. Tom Cotton, everybody. The country teeters on the edge of political reckoning, and the question now isn't whether there was a plot, but how far it went and who else was involved. But again, what sprawled my mind to go into this is when you brought up the eyes only, which was, connected to that post that you just did, with the drop.
Directly connected to that post when we start to understand the declassified intelligence.
Exactly. So again, I want people to understand it. It was marked, this particular document, marked Eyes Only 44. Eyes Only 44 is what it was marked. Now, when I first came across this post, Josh, I went and I was trying to search for it, and I was going off memory because I was driving, and so I didn't have my computer. So I kept doing Obama eyes only. Like I couldn't remember the exact wording. Well, in doing that, and this was the search that I did, if anybody wants to do it on the devil's Google, I had typed in Obama Eyes Only 44. Obviously, not what we're looking for, but this is what it brought up. Quote, Obama Eyes Only 44, end of quote, appears to be referring to the title of a musical called The 44, the unofficial, unsanctioned Obama musical, or simply 44 the musical. The musical tells the story of Barack Obama's election and presidency as Joe Biden kind of sort of remembers it, According to a review by Let's Play Theatrical Reviews, the musical features strong vocals and was performed at the Epiphany Center for Arts. How weird is that shit, bro?
Well, it's a way to conceal and cover that if things started coming out about Eyes Only 44, that, oh, well, that's the Obama musical. And what they hope is that it never becomes declassified. But understanding that this is going to become declassified and come out in the public, this could be the big boom that we're about to see drop. Now, there's a lot of things happening here right now. And I was just talking about this on my show that, Donald Trump saying, guys, forget about Epstein, forget about that right now. And we have 3 movies playing at the same time, but the movie in the scene is FISA-gate. And we have to understand that FISA-gate leads backwards to all the crimes and corruptions up to JFK's assassination, the original coup. And it leads forward to COVID-19, the different impeachments, Congress, Senate, all compromised and forming the coup on Donald Trump, the 2020 election, which was the real coup. And that's where Obama's really going to get hammered and implicated, right? And then their attempt to actually steal 2024. So we have to understand that FISA-gate interconnects all of these. FISA brings down the house. And so all of this is going to come out. But I was reading a post earlier, is that is from General Flynn, the hunters become the hunted, is that he says, you don't declassify documents until you are ready to use that information. And that's what we have to wait for. Now, it came out, Donald Trump said Obama has immunity. Oh, Obama has immunity. Well, guess what? Obama has immunity until he doesn't. Obama has immunity until you show connectivity and connection to a deep state conspiracy that expands beyond its presidency and involves foreign adversaries and foreign intelligence agencies.
I want to expand on that because there's a couple things to that statement Trump made. Before we go there and we leave this post from Brennan, though, one of the things that I interpreted here was in the sentence where he says, Mr. Trump is a temporary aberration.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, that sounds like we're going to take him out.
It's exactly what it is. And look at the date, June 10th, 2018. This is about 30 minutes after that missile launched. That missile had about 20 minutes of airtime before it hit its target. So this would have been around the time that Air Force One would have been hit by that tactical nuke at Whidbey Island that was launched. And so he's saying it right here to allies and friends, he's talking about the deep state. He's talking about the globalists. He's saying, be patient. Mr. Trump is a temporary aberration. An aberration, what do? You wipe it away.
And so, again, remember, Brennan posts this at 4:47 a.m., and so when you go back to this post 1757 with the missile, and you look at the data down here, the temperature is 47.7 degrees. Maybe I'm looking too hard. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's something. Nonetheless, it caught all my attentions when I seen all this stuff. So again, just to put a bow on this one so everybody's tracking. This started off with post 1760, which was the screenshot Q did of the Michael Avenatti. We broke it down here with the Start the Clock. Josh totally took us to school on that knowledge. So with the plane, and just so everybody remembers, the pattern that plane did formed a Q, which is absolutely awesome. That part, I didn't know that part either. And then ultimately that led us to this post with the missile. And then that post has the link to the Twitter post that's screenshotted in the original Q post. And then, of course, the search of that took us, or the conversation of that took us into John Brennan. And then we learned from Josh the following day, he loses his clearance from President Trump. So I saw a couple people were like, join late, I want to know what's going on. More details than that, but hopefully that gets you up to speed as we move into this conversation with the statement President Trump made regarding, well, Obama has immunity. Now, one thing, and I think I have the video. Go ahead and talk about it, Josh, and I'll see if I can find that video so I can play it for us real quick.
Which video is this?
The one where Trump is talking about his immunity, because I want people to hear something on that. And I think I might have it bookmarked. So I'm going to search right now. Give me 1 second.
Well, Trump came out and he referenced the Supreme Court case that actually gave him immunity from the January 6th indictments. And in the context that official acts made by President of the United States bear immunity because they're made in the official capacity of the president and in the context of national defense and so forth, and national security. Where Barack Obama could easily argue that the actions that he took while president were that in the best interest of the country and what he believed to be the best interest of the country, and therefore are deemed immunity. But the other part is that the statute of limitations on federal offenses like this is 5 years. But we heard Mike Davis come out and say specifically, yes, if they stopped right in 2016 and that was it, that would have been the end of it. But this is an ongoing conspiracy. It never ended, which means that the statute of limitations are extended now. Now, I want you to see this because, number one thing that we learned from the Coup boards, FISA works both ways. These people are stupid. In other words, Obama was no longer president. But what happened from 2020 to 2024? Who was calling the shots with the senior execs in the White House? We know it was Obama. Well, how was that communication taking place? We have it all. I want people to understand that, which means that we can show collaborative effort of Barack Obama after his presidency, continuing the conspiracy to take down Trump and even formulating and corroborating with the coup of 2020 to take down that election, which was actually the legitimate coup. That was the actual treason that was done. And that we'll get into here in a little while, directly associates those players, Brennan, Clinton, Obama, with a foreign adversary, China and Venezuela. Now you're talking about Article 10 powers. Now you're talking about the U.S. military because that was an act of war. We've been under a belligerent occupation. With that being an act of war, now they fall under military tribunals and treason. Now, will it go that far? I don't know, because you can prosecute them under the DOJ, and it's greater to run them through the ringer of the Department of Justice and allow these trials to be public, because that's what's going to happen. It's coming.
So it absolutely is. And just again, can't say it enough. We're over 4,000 watching live on Rumble right now. Shout out to you guys. And shout out to all of you watching on the different platforms, trying to get us love and grow the audience out there. Mad respect for you guys for holding the fort down out there. This is the video I wanted to bring up with Trump making the statement regarding Epstein. So you guys pay very close attention to his words here. Let me hit play.
I think it's muted, bud. Nothing. No sound, Alpha.
Oh, you guys can't hear the sound on it? Oh, I'm playing it on the wrong clip. My apologies, folks. I'm over here listening to it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted everybody to hear. They couldn't hear it. Let me do it through the right tab. My apologies, folks. My apologies. All right, let me bring it up. Thank goodness it's a short clip and we can start this over real quick. All right, here we go. And now you guys should be able to hear it.
You on presidential immunity would apply to former President Barack Obama and what you're accusing him of doing.
It probably helps him a lot. Probably helps him a lot, the immunity ruling. But it doesn't help the people around him at all. But it probably helps him a lot. Well, he's done criminal acts. There's no question about it. But he has immunity, and it probably helps him a lot. He owes me big. Obama owes me big.
So if you're listening, Trump leaves things so open to interpretation, and we know he does it by design. The man is strategic in his speak, but he says it probably helps him a lot. He has immunity. It probably helps him a lot, but he doesn't make it conclusive. He doesn't say he's getting away with it. And I think it's because he wants people to look into what he's saying so they can extract what you were explaining right now, that if he operates outside the capacity of his presidency, he doesn't have it. Along with certain crimes like seditious conspiracy and treason, he won't also be immune to those things. But there's another way that his immunity can get taken, and you actually schooled me on this today. You want to walk the audience through that, if you remember what I'm talking about?
Well, first, I want to say something before that, and then you can kind of remind me of that. But I want to point this out, is that Trump is saying this only from what he has learned from disclosed information already declassified from DNI, Gabbard, and the DOJ. He's not saying this in the context of everything that he knows, because he's not supposed to know it, because that would be weaponizing the DOJ. He's not supposed to know what the DNI has already found in all these other declassified documents. He's supposed to act stupid pertaining to that information. So we have to understand that Trump is simply making a statement based upon how it stands right now with what has been disclosed. And I think that's really important. He says,
and let me make a statement to that for people wondering, well, is that real? Does that happen? That happens every single day in law enforcement, folks.
Yep.
Especially in the realm of detectives. When you have people that give you information off the record, or when information's learned through a wiretap that was for specific information, but other information was heard, you'll be told, hey, this is what you know, but you can't act upon it and you can't speak upon it until you develop your own way of legally getting to that information.
right.
And that happens all the time in law enforcement.
And he might know what the intelligence is, but the DOJ hasn't determined if it's illegal, treasonous conspiracy, or whatnot. So he can't comment on those matters or bring it into the context of what's being said. And he says it helps him a lot. And then he says he owes me big. Well, why is he saying that? Well, number one, he owes him big because it was Donald Trump's Supreme Court case that determined that Barack Obama would actually have immunity in this context. When he went to the Supreme Court with the January 6th decision on inciting an insurrection, the Supreme Court said, nope, Donald Trump acted in his official capacity, and any actions done by the president in his official capacity are deemed protected by immunity. So that's where he's saying he owes me big. But he says it helps him a lot. It doesn't say, yeah, he has immunity. It helps him a lot. But he doesn't say that he has full immunity and he's off the hook. He leaves that wide open. Now, remind me what I was telling you earlier. Like,
when we're talking about the impeachment process.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah. So one thing that we have to understand is that you can impeach a president who's not in office. You can impeach Ronald Reagan, George Bush, if you wanted to right now. And you can impeach Barack Obama back in the 2012, the 2016. And what would you need to do that? You would need 60% of the House and the Senate to do that. Well, we don't have those numbers now, but guess what we're going to have after 2026? We're going to have a supermajority, because we're going to have a red wave, because the Democrat Party is dead. And once we get supermajority in the House, they go back and impeach Barack Obama. Guess what? His immunity is gone. But I honestly don't think we're going to need it, because what happens next with the release of information, and I want to pull this video up real quick. And it's a 2-minute, 3-minute video, but I think it's important for where we're going to kind of take this next.
And just so you folks know, we do see the Rumble rants, and we'll be doing those at the end of the show. So we didn't forget, we didn't miss them. We're just saving those for the end. Go ahead.
Listen to what Flynn says here. I know what's coming, but I want you to listen to what Flynn says here.
Can you frame this for us? What are we about to see?
Yeah, so two things, and there's still a lot of internal undermining within the CIA that has to end. The exposure, though, that I think we're about to see is additional exposure of the current evidence that we are seeing with the undermining in the 2016, 2017 timeframe. And I think the big one that's going to come out, and I think it's going to be even worse, is 2020. So 2020 was the coup, as I've said very bluntly. The plan initially was Obama, Hillary, but that got stopped by Trump, right, and the American people. And so then they had to figure out how to do it again. And the real coup was 2020. And I think that, I wouldn't expect something in the next 24 hours, because I think that there's some machinations going on inside of the government right now. But I think a lot of what we're going to learn in leading up to 2020 is the coup. And remember, President Trump was the president at that time, right? The 51 it's intel and defense advisors that signed the Hunter Biden letter. I mean, that's public now. There's a lot of other things that are not public that led up to 2020 that led to the coup and the rigged election where Uncle Joe became the president of the United States. And God, look at what we're learning about the auto pen, right? So more to come. That's where I think, if you want to put a finger on what's next, it's that.
So take this. Now what we do, Alpha, okay, is go to Stephen Miller, who's one of Donald Trump's closest confidants, right? Inner circle Donald Trump, Stephen Miller. And I put the wrong one up here. We're going to click that.
If it's that one with the plane, bro, you read my mind because I have that one.
Yep, I got it right here. Stephen Miller puts Loadmasters getting ready to drop something big. Look at this, out of a C-17. Ready to drop something big. This is Stephen Miller. What does that mean? August 2nd, Flynn said within 48 hours, maybe a little bit longer, post 1802, August 2nd, 2018, something big is about to drop. And what's Flynn talking about? Flynn is talking about the real coup of 2020. Now, Flynn also came out and published today a very, very important blog that has everything to do with what we're talking about right now with the something big. He's given you hints to follow along, people. And so when we start to understand this, he says right here, the hunters have become the hunted. The truth is rising. He starts talking about Trump. He starts talking about the national law. He starts talking about Tulsi Gabbard's declassifications, the first domino. Here's what those documents confirm. Barack Obama, 2016, the coup. He goes into it. He starts talking about it. Then he says, this is why 2020 was critical. It wasn't about beating Trump. It was about silencing him before you could uncover and expose their crimes. What have I said since the beginning? FISA was about uncovering or covering up their own crimes. That's the 2020 coup actually happened. A deep state strategy is to run the clock since the federal statute of limitations on many of these offenses is 5 years, but there's one catch. A conspiracy investigation resets the clock and opens up new venues for prosecution. The deep state's favorite Washington, D.C. courtrooms can no longer protect this corruption. Florida is now in play. Do you remember the post when we did the first one, Defcon 0, and I read the Matt Getz post, and I said, Florida is in play. What's he say right here? Florida is now in play, and that changes everything. Why? Because of Mar-a-Lago, because of Donald Trump being a citizen of Florida. The new DOJ battlefield, he goes on, he starts talking about Trump, Durham, Barr, Russiagate, all of it. Now, he breaks it all down really nice and really well. But see, there's another point that you have to put together, because you got to remember, they can't come out and directly tell you exactly what's going to happen. Instead, you got to kind of go through everything and put it together. Well, Emerald Robinson, who's friends with Michael Flynn, who was there with Flynn and Byrne and Powell and all of these guys at Newsmax, who was going through all this.
Hold on real quick. All right. Before we get into hers, because I know that's going to take us some significant time. I want to mention something to Flynn that you brought up right now. And I want to bring this up on the screen real quick. Flynn posted this, and he posted it July 19th. It reads, attention. Here's what is playing out in real time. And a lot of this is what you were talking about, and that's why I want people to see this. Number 1, the deep state plan. Number 2, the strategy. Number 3, the target. Number 4, the counterpunch. I was talking about this in a space earlier today. Now, he includes photos in here. So let's look at photo number 1, the plan. And it's the one that we've seen, the 16-year plan with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And then obviously we know Hillary Clinton didn't get to do what she wants. So you have all the green check boxes on Obama's. And then the one that's circled under Hillary Clinton is ban sale of firearms, repeal the amendment. So the 16-year plan. So then when you go to number 2, the strategy. And what does that take us to? the American coup d'etat. And of course, you see, you have Obama, Loretta Lynch, Comey, Clinton, Podesta, Abedin. Yeah, you guys see all the players that are in there. Then you go to number 3, the target. Who is the target? Of course, there's the mugshot of President Trump. So then he goes, this is the part, bro, that's just...
the counter punch.
And what does he do? It's him.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys...
And if you guys don't realize who you've been talking to on those boards, just let you know.
If you are still wondering if this man has a role in what's going on, he just told you guys he's the counterpunch.
Well, what did his son and him post the other day? The picture of his office where in Washington, D.C. We knew this months ago when we were booking him and we had him on the show that he was getting his office built out in Washington, D.C. It was getting everything ready and moving in. It's like this is after Trump won the election. And the question is why is Flynn going to D.C.? And I guess we could say it. He's consulting in D.C. for the government. I wonder who he's consulting with. Congress, Senate, Trump, DOJ, NSA, CIA, Ratcliffe, all these guys. Who's bringing it all together? How do they know where to look? How do they know where everything is? How did Kash Patel know to look in an abandoned locker or abandoned closet at the FBI for all of these old records and documents that Brennan and Comey threw away and had hidden under lock and key? How do they know? You're finding out how they know.
And then the other thing, before we get into the post by Emerald, I want to go back to this Stephen Miller one. You would swear this was scripted. I had it queued up right here too. And so if you just want to entertain the timestamps on this, again, the 10:10 time, that's my time, you guys. So if you want to look at it, yeah. So if you go to post 110, if you want to use standard time, it's dated November 5th, 2017. Mainstream media, CIA counter ops, we all fell down. If you want to go to military time and go to 1310, this one was pretty interesting to me. It's dated May 2nd, 2018. And when you scroll to this photo, it's this place right here. And so I went and researched to find out what this is. And this is an Apple store in Hong Kong.
Up in Hong Kong.
And when you continue into this photo,
well, I remember all this.
You see cargo, right? Which definitely resonates with what Miller was posting.
Well, actually, they're iPads, and iPhones.
Inside this cargo you're talking about.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm tracking. And then obviously you just have the stamp. So that's what you got. So you have Hong Kong, the Apple store in Hong Kong, and then obviously you have this packaging, the cargo container, and it's iPads and iPhones.
So this is at a time in the boards when Donald Trump was actually ejecting Huawei, the Chinese telecom company, out of the United States. And what was discovered during this time is that China was it's called a TPM hack. And basically what it is a small like microchip the size of a pen tip that sits inside the motherboard of your computer and allowed backdoor entry. And that these certain chips were being implemented on iPhones and iPads, which were being used by a lot of government employees. In other words, is that spies are everywhere. I broke down all these Q posts for years. People should go watch them. They're awesome.
I love it. We're getting close to that 5,000 mark over there on Rumble.
Now, right, a few things. So we just talked about Flynn. I know we got to get into the Rumble rants real quick.
Oh no, we're good. We got time for that. I just want to let people know.
We just talked about those Rumble rants, we just talked about that Q post, or not the Q post, the Flynn post. That was the hunters become the hunted. Look at tomorrow's Delta, people. July 30th, 2019, 3557. Targets may be closer than they appear. Hunters become the hunted. Do you think that that's a coincidence that Flynn posted that today, one day before all of this?
Do not.
I don't either. And then you have Devin Nunes hunting the chupacabras is that post. Kind of interesting. But, I was talking for a second about Emerald Robinson, because I was saying that you have to take Flynn's post in the context. You have to look at everybody associated with this. And she did 101 post thread. It's massive. But guys, let me tell you, I highly recommend going out there, following Emerald Robinson, and reading this entire thread. Now, if you don't want to read the entire thread yourself, you can go watch my show just the other day, not this last episode, but 2 nights ago. And I went over this entire thread and broke it down. Emerald Robinson right here says it's time to explain exactly what happened on Election Day 2024 to stop the steal. This will be a very long thread. It involves quite a few people over 4 years and dozens of sources. We must begin after the rigged 2020 election. And she breaks down everything that happened after Election Day all the way up to the 2024 election. Now, Alpha, this is absolutely mind-blowing. She talks about the 301st Intelligence Brigade, who captured all of the signal data and it was used in Michigan. She talks about how the Pentagon had all the information December of 2020, and all they needed was a call from the president, and they would have stepped in. She talks about how Bolton and many others in Congress and staffers, Cipollone in the White House as general counsel, all interfered with the process and stopped the intelligence from ever getting to Donald Trump. In other words, after the November 6, 2020 election, there was an internal coup in the White House. Remember Mark Esper stops communicating with Donald Trump? That was real. There was a literal soft coup going on in the White House, and they would not give Donald Trump intelligence briefings. They wouldn't give him intelligence, and they were telling him nothing. And at the same time, people were coming forward saying the election was rigged and China interfered with our election, but nobody would take in the information. So what we find out is on the January 7th DNI report that came out from Ratcliffe is we find out that China absolutely did interfere with our election. Multiple whistleblowers come forth. And so she goes on to explain this with Mike Lindell, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani was handed the files that proved without a shadow of a doubt satellite relays between Venezuela and Serbia and Yahweh servers in China that stole the 2020 election. Now, that's really important to understand because that's two foreign adversaries, Venezuela and China. And by the way, you can interconnect that. The inflow of all the illegal immigrants over the last 4 years, who was dropping off all the Northern African immigrants and all of the terrorist cells in Middle East and shipping them to Venezuela to get to the Darien Gap to come over the border? Nobody ever talks about that part. That was China. Okay? So people have to understand that this was a foreign rogue adversary. This was an act of war. Donald Trump has said this is an act of war against Venezuela. And Emerald actually goes out to say that we are at war with Venezuela over this. And Donald Trump initiated that by deeming Tren de Agua and other terrorist organizations, including the ones Maduro's are associated with, as foreign terrorist organizations that are infiltrated in our country. So she goes on to explain that something happened and they learned how they did it. Some information that Giuliani got. And what they didn't have was the NSA large data capture to capture all the IP addresses to learn how, where they were basically sourcing it from. And somebody happened to find some unknown X account of this Japanese guy that is completely anonymous, who just happened to capture all the packet and IP data of the 2020 US election and was posting it on X. They went out there, they contacted him, and he said, yeah, I will hand it all over to you for a $20 donation. And he handed it over to him. What did the IP addresses show? It showed Dominion and Smartmatic directly connecting to Venezuela, Serbia, and Yahweh servers ran by China, stealing the 2020 election. Now, if anybody on here has followed Alpha and myself for a while, we interviewed Patrick Byrne after the 2024 election. Patrick Byrne had some interesting things to say. He started talking to it. By the way, I will put this out there. I love Patrick. I think he's a great guy. And I don't usually talk about personal phone calls, but he called me the next day and asked me if I had published the episode yet. And I said, yes. And he goes, well, the cat's out of the bag. We'll see what happens. As in, he said things on the show that we had with him that he wasn't supposed to say. And what he talked to us about is he said that I ran a team of less than 30 people that went in there and we stopped the Venezuelan election by understanding how they hacked the 2020 election. And he goes, we did the same thing in the 2024 presidential election in the U.S. Now, Emerald goes in on this post and says that less than 30 people team saved this country and stopped the election theft by basically running a counter hack on those IP addresses during the election time so that they could not hack into the systems and change the votes. If everybody remembers in Michigan when the Secretary of State came out, Bushman or whatever her name is, and said they had to run a patch and that they needed to run a patch, and that was they're trying to work around the steal the election, and they couldn't get it in because they were counter hacking them at the same time. And this was Patrick Byrne's team. Now, who's he associated with? General Michael Flynn. And we talked about this. If Flynn, he said, Flynn is the mastermind of organic movement warfare. I am the digital infrastructure guy. These guys have been working for President Trump since 2016, people. They never stopped. That Flynn never had to leave the White House, by the way. I hope everybody understands that. Flynn never had to leave the White House, but he did. And I think it's the same reason that Bannon left the White House. Bannon didn't have to leave the White House, but he did. And what did he do? He went and hung out with Jeffrey Epstein for a year and got 16 hours of interviewing evidence. You have to understand that this is all part of the plan.
And include the collaboration on the way they posted. Emerald posts, Patrick Byrne posts to that, and then Flynn posts to that. There's a working coordinated. At least in my opinion, it looks like a coordinated.
It's absolutely coordinated. And then you have Stephen Miller coming out and saying something big's about the drop. Then Flynn goes on Benny and says something big's about the drop. And what is about the drop? Well, Emerald, Flynn, and Byrne all just said the 2020 election was the real coup. And the evidence shows conclusively that it wasn't just the deep state internally. And I want people to organize this in their minds. We're talking about Obama immunity. This is where Obama immunity fails. Consider this. China had Yahweh servers in the United States. Donald Trump kicked them out. In 2014, they were developing the bioweapon that was sent to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. We know this. Fauci, all of that, EcoHealth Alliance, Peter Daszak. China released the bioweapon. Whatever what people want to say, China released that bioweapon. At the same time that China released the bioweapon, you had George Soros in the 2018 election. Do you remember the midterms, 2018, Alpha?
I do.
You remember how that was supposed to be a red wave and the red wave never happened?
Didn't happen.
Well, why didn't the red wave happen? George Soros went in there and funded the campaigns of secretaries of state and attorney generals throughout the country. Why did he focus on attorney generals and secretary of states? Well, we find out in 2020 why he did that. Because China releases the bioweapon, and this forces the states to start thinking about the 2020 election. And now they have to change election laws through the attorney general and the secretary of state, not through the House assemblies. Remember, they did it that way, and that was illegal, but they did it anyway. And they allowed for mail-in ballots and ballot harvesting to occur in the 2020 election. At the same time, China just released the COVID virus, but at the same time, China, we just learned from declassified DNI Tulsi Gabbard's declassified reports that China was running operations in the United States to create fictitious people, fake people that had driver's licenses and could vote in order to perform mail-in voter fraud. So you got to see the collaboration. George Soros, 2018, supposed to be a red wave. They steal the election for Secretary of States, attorney generals, and Congress and Senate, try to impeach Donald Trump again. Then you have China release COVID. At the same time China's releasing COVID, they're out there registering fake identities with driver's licenses and starting the mail-in ballot harvesting. A lot of the fake ballots came from China. At the same time this is happening, George Soros' attorney generals and secretary of states are out there changing the laws illegally to allow ballot harvesting and mail-in ballots. This culminates with the Democrats colluding with both sides of this, and the coup of 2020 allowing Joe Biden to come in as the belligerent occupant of the White House, of which Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, ends up being the shadow government during this point in time. It's all interrelated. And that was the real coup, because it's collusion directly with a foreign adversary. And Mark Warner, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, they're all involved in it. And they all knew of China's involvement. They all hid China's involvement. And that's fucking treason.
And if you watched last week's episode of Defcon, you saw the video I played of Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, when he made the statement, "I'm a wartime speaker," and doubled down and says literally, just to make sure people then say, oh, he was being symbolic. No, he said literally, "I'm a wartime speaker," to put that out there. You know, you had mentioned Devin Nunes. Nunes
just broke his silence. He finally came. First time we've heard from Devin in a long time. He just came out the other day.
He did, and he did an interview with Maria Bartiromo. Did you happen to catch those clips that are out there?
I listened to a few of them, but let's listen to them.
This one, it's a little over 2 minutes, but it's important. A couple things that he says here, but one thing that caught my attention is when Maria uses the word cabal to describe the deep state, and Nunes rolls with it, doesn't correct it, doesn't discount it. He rolls with it. So catch that. But here, let me play the clip. Let me bring it up on the screen so everybody can see. Let's take a listen to this. I definitely want to get your thoughts. I want to play some tennis with this.
Cool.
Well, hold on. I got to do it on the right thing, because everybody's gonna be like, "You ain't do the audio." See, I caught it that time, folks. I caught it. I'm used to doing it on mine where I just have the videos preloaded. So, but I caught it that time, folks. I caught it. So here we go.
Is back with us. And Devin, you made several criminal referrals to the DOJ. Talk to us about specific crimes that this cabal committed.
Well, the easiest ones are lying to Congress and omitting information from Congress, which the most recent one was put out by Director Gabbard recently in this PDB, Presidential Daily Brief. None of that information was ever given to Congress. It's kind of critical information that was missed, right? That would have been critically important for our report. In addition to that, John Ratcliffe talked about conspiracy, and conspiracy, there is no statute of limitations. And like I was saying in the last segment, I think people need to remember that all of these hoaxes that happened were done by the same people in many cases, and one led to the other. So you had Hillary starts the collusion hoax. Obama continues the collusion hoax. Mueller continues the collusion hoax. I mean, Mueller and that team of witch hunters should also be looked at, everything that they did. Then when Mueller completely flames out, why? Because there was no intelligence that tied Trump to Russia. Then what happens? We get this fake whistleblower from inside the agencies that says that Trump's doing something weird with Ukraine. And so you end up with that. And then you get to the Hunter Biden laptop. And then you get to the raid at Mar-a-Lago. All of that is happening with basically the same 24 people and media operatives that are all involved in perpetuating these hoaxes. So, but the problem is you cannot destroy evidence. You cannot hide evidence from Congress. We had multiple subpoenas that went out there. I'd be surprised to see if was any information hid from John Durham. I think Durham and his team could play a role in maybe helping out this new strike force that's put together, because there's probably a lot that
I want people to hear this part right here.
Information hid from John Durham.
Here we go.
From Congress. We had multiple.
So I hate interrupting the clips, but this is the part that I had mentioned to you earlier today, Josh, and I want the audience to hear this part regarding Mr. Durham. So listen to this part as well, folks.
Multiple subpoenas that went out there. I'd be surprised to see if was any information hid from John Durham. I think Durham and his team could play a role in maybe helping out this new strike force that's put together, because there's probably a lot that was hidden from them. So there's plenty of conspiring going on. Multiple laws, in my opinion, were broke. The question will be, can you build a case strong enough that a jury would convict some of these people? And that's really going to be the key.
No statute of limitation on conspiracy.
That's
Durham's coming.
100%, bro. 100%.
So what we're getting now is that the classified appendix of the Durham files, Donald Trump just authorized the declassification yesterday. This could be dropping any day now, which the drop that Stephen Miller was hinting towards, what Michael Flynn was talking about, this could be it, because this is going to link FISA Gate and the 2020 election together in a grand conspiracy. And this is the classified portion of these documents. Now, Devin Nunes just hinted that this could bring back John Durham, because there might have been things that he didn't have because it wasn't handed over to him.
The cover-up gets you caught.
That's right.
On
the cover-up's an
Strike Force.
expansion of the same conspiracy.
It is. On Strike Force. I would imagine the skull is already there.
Well, there is panic absolutely in DC right now. They are shitting themselves. And, that comes to this next part. Alpha, I've talked a long time about the Firestorm. And people are like, what's the Firestorm? Well, back in November of 2020, I was not in agreement with any other social influencer out there. Everybody's like, Trump will be president. We'll do January 6th. Or then you had people saying, oh, he's going to get inaugurated on March 1st or April 3rd or the 19th president. And then it was September. And everybody just kept on moving the goalposts. And I was consistent. Me and my brother, my co-host at the time, we were consistent. We said, no. I said, Donald Trump's going to go out there. He's going to go back to the real world. He's going to create a social media organization. We're going to take back the idea of information, and then we're going to come back in 2025. That's what I said. You can go back to my November 2020 podcast where we said this. And I lost so much of my audience because I said that. But we were fucking right. Now, the other part that we said is that as Trump comes back into the fold and it all begins to unravel, as a declassification comes in and the prosecutions begin to occur, the investigations and prosecutions begin to occur, that's when we start entering the point of vulnerability. The point of vulnerability matches what we would consider to be on the Q boards as the precipice. As people begin to learn more, and that comes to this critical mass, you have a vulnerability of the old system and the new system, right? So the old guard and the new guard are at major points of vulnerability because you have this building up of pressure within the public domain, this precipice that's occurring of them realizing what just happened. And this can go any way. And I said, it's at that point that you make the final strike on the deep state, but also that the deep state begins to strike against you. And I've said since the get-go, these people will never give up power. They will scorch this earth before they ever do. Now, there is some interesting stuff out there right now. This is, according to numerous cybersecurity experts, and I'm going to kind of lay the groundwork. You go back the last 4 years, you remember 252 various different food manufacturing processing facilities around the country burned to the ground, and that was a kind of like insurance and centralization of the food supply. The deep state was already in the movements of all of this. You had various different...
We just had another one today.
Yep. You have different oil refineries and gas refineries just blowing up, right?
I'll see if I can find it for you.
Sure. Well, just a few months ago, you had Portugal, Spain, and France lose power at the REN grid operator, which in 2022 just happened to be owned by China. In the United States, you've had various different parts of the 911 communication go down nationally or even state level. You've had interruptions with various different airlines. About a week ago, you had Alaska Airlines ground all their flights. If you go back to January, you had, what'd you have? You had New Jersey EWR Airport grounding all flights because they were having comms and radar issues that it's all went dark inside of the tower. In other words, something's going on here. And if you go back to 2018 in the Q boards, we talk about 2 U.S. Navy ships that in different incidences collided with other maritime vessels and killed sailors. In 2022, you had the USS Connecticut, a ballistic missile submarine that apparently hit a mountain underneath the ocean and had a surface and then go to Guam for repairs. I've been in the Navy for 10 years, and I can tell you one thing is that submarines don't hit mountains. They're actually made so they don't hit mountains. What happened to that submarine? Well, the same thing that happened to the two U.S. Navy ships, as they were hijacked and lost control, lost power, and then dropped into another ship or dropped into a mountain. We've had various different types of aircraft over the last 5 to 6 years that have fallen out of the sky or crazily crashed and collapsed. Helicopters falling out of the sky. People remember this. In other words, there's cyber warfare that's more advanced than anything we can understand today that is going on against our military and defense systems. Just yesterday, I learned of this one. According to numerous cybersecurity websites now reporting this, a threat actor has hacked and stolen the source code for the combat management system that runs ballistic missile submarines and frigates associated with the naval group, France's largest military manufacturer. The source code, combined with other classified documents that are claimed to have been stolen, could allow malicious actors potentially seize combat control of France's 4 ballistic missile-capable submarines, which carry a combined 64 M51 ballistic missiles, SLBMs, which have a range of up to 11,000 kilometers, meaning they could reach New York City and Washington, D.C. within under 30 minutes. Each of these 64 missiles carries 6 to 10 independently targetable TN-75 thermonuclear warheads, each with a reported yield of 110 plus kilotons. That happened yesterday, people. You have to understand that whomever is controlling this deep state infrastructure, just like the USS Richard B. Russell and launching a tactical nuke at Air Force One back in 2018, is that they have resources and they have advanced technology and they can hack our systems. I have other insider information on this. I am not at liberty to discuss it right now. I've talked to Alpha about this. But let's just say that there was an article that came out, public article the other day that came out talking about various U.S. agencies, telecom, energy infrastructure have been compromised due to an Microsoft Azure cloud hack, as well as Microsoft SharePoint hack. There's parts of that aren't being reported on that I've been introduced to. I can't comment on it, but I'll just say that they're fighting back. And that this is very, very serious situation. When we get into the idea of the firestorm, it talks about social and cultural destabilization, political infiltration, institutional infiltration that leads to the destabilization of the supply chain as well as critical infrastructure, which eventually leads to a Black Swan event in World War III, which then begins the Great Reset. In the context of what's happening right now, these people won't go down without a fight. This isn't a movie. This is very, very real. This is a war, and these people are planning something. We're seeing all different types of false flags, single shooter situations occurring right now.
We'll get into that one at the end. The shooting one. There's some things that's going to be an open-ended one. I think we could probably continue with that particular one next week because I want to bring some stuff up, and there's no way we'll be able to cover it all tonight. But I want to give you and the audience some stuff to dig in, because I think there might be some there.
Well, let's cover it. Let's cover the false flags and the shooters and expand on this next week. I think that would be a great one. Talk about false flag inbounds because I think it's going to be more relevant next week, people. And if you can understand my hints on that.
I agree. You had a post right now that you brought out with the hunters become the hunted.
Sure.
You want to grab that one more time because I want to refresh people's memories on it.
Well, I think I pulled it over here.
I know you're like bouncing back between all these freaking browsers.
Well, and I got my screen blowing up to 200-300%.
And we're at 5,017 viewers on Rumble.
Hey, guys, if we got 5,017 people watching us on Rumble, can we get just a half of that to give us thumbs up?
You guys have put us at number 3. And you have put us at number 7. So thank you for that. It's outstanding. And,
now, you want the Flynn article on the Hunters Become the Hunted?
Yeah, it was the one where you brought it up, and because you had mentioned the boards with it. So you had brought up.
You want the Q post or you want the Flynn post?
Well, if you could bring up the Flynn post first, and then after that, you can take people to the Q post because I want to bring something up to connect with it. So this is, I want to remind people how it started. So this is General Flynn's post. The hunted had become the hunters, and then this took you to the Q post.
Yep. Well, and I got the Q post separately. Let me see. I had it right here. Oh, there it is. So 3557. So this is the Flynn post that he posted today. Tomorrow is July 30th. And you have to understand that Flynn just said on Benny, the next 48 hours, something big's about to drop pertaining to all this. He says out today, hunters have become the hunted. And here's a Q post for tomorrow.
Now, this is why I find this very fascinating. It's dated tomorrow. So now what I want, you can pull yours off now.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, what was Devin Nunes just talking about on Maria Bartiromo? The declassified annex of John Durham.
And so with that, so this is the post right here that Josh had up. Let me zoom in on it so you guys can see. 3557. So when you click on that Twitter post, it takes you to who? Devin Nunes. Hunting for chupacabras circa 2001. Old photo, right? And it's dated July 30th.
30th, 2019. And you're in California time, right?
I'm in California time. That is
so that 1:13?
Yeah, 1:13 or 13:13.
And that's AM, right?
Yeah, that's AM.
Well, so it'd be 1:13 PM, but that's okay because it can work both ways for PMs.
Yeah.
And so when we get down here, I don't think that would be at 1:13, maybe 13:13. Let me check real quick. And if this is a boom, I'll bring it up. If it's not, then I'll just be like, it was nothing. Oh, well, Patriots fight. It goes back to the Q boards, May 4th, 2018, Patriots fight. Not really relevant, but who knows? You never know if that timestamp had relevance.
So I found it very interesting.
Wait a minute. Pull that back up.
All right. Your wish is my command, brother.
What time did he post that at?
10:13 a.m.
Well, that's your time, right?
That's my time.
So what time would that have been in the East Coast?
That's what I'm saying. That would have been 11:12, 1:13, or 13:13.
1:13. What are the three numbers? 11:3.
Oh shit. That
is a start. Oh.
Each 11.3 verifies. 1:13.
Wow.
Smoking A, bro.
See,
Smoking A.
Where that mind works.
Oh. Hunting for chupacabras, circa 2001. Oh, very interesting. So I want to grab this. Let me see. Trying to make this make sense for me real quick. I have one on here and I'm trying to think of where I got it from. So I'm going to pass on that one because I'm trying to remember. We'll save the shooting stuff for... Well, here, let me just introduce this shooting stuff real quick. Only for the purposes of... There's some things that got out of order. I swear, man, I made sure these things were in order this time.
Mm-hmm.
And they're out of order now. So let me double check this real quick. Where did that one come from? I'd post 818 up, and I don't have any identities. That one's not on my notes. So, anyways, let me block this real quick. No New York Post, you can't find me. So you have the New York Post reporting the shooting from yesterday. And it says rifle-toting NYC shooter Shane Tamura kills 4, including NYPD officer, before turning gun on himself at Blackstone NFL headquarters. For those that don't know, It happened on the 33rd floor. A lot of people found that interesting. Ultimately, he turns the gun on himself. There's been a lot of skepticism surrounding the scene of his body and the deaths surrounding that. But nonetheless,
you know what my problem is the video that shows him on the floor and all the desks around him on the 33rd floor is AI generated.
And that's what a lot of the issues are because of the
then the couches in front of the door. There's like 30 couches. That's AI generated. What was really going on to the 33rd floor of that building?
That they couldn't show us the real floor. That's exactly.
I had a post up yesterday, and actually, and we know covered it. I had to take it down. There's a few reasons why I took it down. I'm not going to talk too much about it. It goes back to the stuff you and I talked about that I can't talk about.
So, okay.
But I had to take that post down. But understand that there's more happening on that 33rd floor than people understand. And this guy wasn't going there to attack the NFL. And he didn't.
No, he was not. Me and you agree there. 100%.
This is a command and control center for distribution of people that do certain things. And he was going back to the source of where this started.
So, with that,
and I'm pretty sure Colonel Towner would know what we're talking about.
Absolutely. So with that, I started looking in, let's see who they're reporting was killed, because they want everybody concentrating on the officer, right? It was an off-duty officer that was doing a security gig there. But there was also this lady that was killed. Blackstone executive, according to their reports, Wesley LePatner. Now, this LinkedIn thing's not going to show much information because it's not logged in. So I'm going to go and read off a different screen that I'm not going to bring on the screen. And the reason being is because this is a covert LinkedIn that I'm reading off of. So this was just a marker to remind me to go to this one. I'm going to read her about section real quick. I am Blackstone's global head of Core Plus Real Estate and the chief executive office of Blackstone. And this is the cover story, because I agree with Josh 100% on who she is and what she was is not what they're telling us. So I'll preface it with that. And the chief executive officer of Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust, Breit, B-R-E-I-T. I'm also a member of Blackstone Real Estate Investments Committee. I previously served as the chief operating officer of Core Plus Business, as well as Breit. Before joining Blackstone in 2014, I spent over a decade at Goldman Sachs, most recently as managing director in the real estate investment group with the asset management division. I also worked in Goldman Sachs real estate principal investment area and real estate investment banking group, where I began my career. I received a BA in history from Yale University, summa cum laude, and Phi Beta Kappa. I served on the boards of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Art is pretty significant if you're thinking money laundering stuff. And the Abraham Joshua Heschel School, the UJA Federation of New York, and the Yale University Library Council. And I'm a member of the advisory board of the governors of Narit. So I started Narit, N-A-R-E-I-T. So I started to dig into some of her, because for whatever reason, she's the one that set off my detective vibes. UJA, for those that are wondering, is I believe it was Unity Jewish Association Federation in New York, which is going to definitely send the J crowd in a frenzy once they get a wind of that one. But let me go over here. I started going through her links and connections. And here is 3 people that I think require further looking into regarding her. The first 2 people, bringing it up because I want to read this in order. Okay, here we go. Here we go. When she was at Blackstone, she was mentored by this name, Kathleen McCarthy and Frank Cohen, both identified as senior real estate leaders within Blackstone. Her husband is Evan LePatner, managing partner at a private equity firm, Horizon Partners, active New York finance and philanthropy circles. So I said, there was other people, but these were the three names that caught my attention. And so I said, let's dig. And this is why I said this is going to require a lot more stuff. So here's a little bit about Kathleen McCarthy, her role, and as well as connections to the victim here, Wesley. She's a global co-head of Blackstone Real Estate. Her relationship is McCarthy has known the partner since their analysis days at Goldman Sachs, well over 20 years. She personally recruited Wesley LePatner into Blackstone and later recognized her leadership in the building core business. Potential ties through McCarthy, high-level access to Blackstone's strategy, capital executive network, exposure to corporate boardrooms and institutional deals, and partnership mentorship. Here's Frank Cohen. Frank Cohen, former long-term CEO of Briette and later is the board chairman. His relationship to the victim, Wesley LePatner, succeeded Cohen as a CEO on January 1st, 2025, when Cohen, remaining as chairman, transitioned Frame publicly as planned. So she essentially took over this guy's spot after he mentored her. This is her husband. Managing partner at Horizon, and for those that want to look it up, it's Courizon Partners, a private equity firm in New York. They've been married. They met in 1999, got married in 2006. Financial networks is what he's tied into. Exposure to deals is how she's tied into him. So I wanted to get a little bit more about Evan LePatner's firm. And here's what I got from that stuff. And like I said, all this stuff, this is all just surface level digging. And I know you guys can't see what I'm reading because this is on a screen that it has other stuff. I'm not gonna compromise. But these essentially are just notes. This is all stuff that you guys got to research yourself, and I will as well. Evan LePatner, so this is her husband, is the founder, managing partner again at Horizon Partners, bringing deep experience into industrial and consumer PE deals. He previously served at Gamut Capital Management, leading key sectors like building products, chemicals, and metals, and at KPS Capital Partners, where he managed control buyouts in industrial and retail business. He started his career at Citigroup as an analyst and holds a Yale BA with distinction in political science. So essentially, as I kept going through this, is there's a lot of ties that these people have, the ones that mentored her and brought her over, that start heading into the region of a country with a little I. And so go ahead.
So I think that there's another connection that we might be missing with this.
Fire off, brother. I want to hear it.
Well, I want you to think about this for a second, because what does Blackstone do?
According to them, it's real estate.
Real estate. What do they do in real estate?
Enlighten me on that one.
Well, they own REITs. Basically, they own rental properties across the country, tens of thousands of different rental properties. They own homes, single-family homes. And so Blackstone was one of the major facilitators that was out there purchasing single-family homes after COVID-19 by our entire communities, as well as Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase, HSBC. Now, what was her job position there at Blackstone?
She took over as CEO after Cohen mentored her.
So she was chief operating officer.
Yeah, chief. Here, I'll give you the exact.
Now, I don't know if there's a connection to this, but I'm saying if we want to pry and look into this, what was just recently discovered? Magic mortgage scheme. Act Blue cash laundered through phantom real estate deals. The Election Fairness Institute's report names Act Blue as the center of a nationwide magic mortgage operation. Over 400 carbon copy donations in a single day led investigators to scores of widely inflated property sales in California and Texas, multiple transfers in a single day, private cash lenders, no public loan records, and addresses that don't exist. EFI says that pattern mirrors classic Bank Secrecy Act violations, pumped millions into federal races around each election cycle, and is now in the Justice Department's hands for potential charges under the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2020. If this holds, Democrats' favorite piggy bank just got caught laundering soft money through ghost houses, perfectly timed to sway elections while lecturing Americans about the threats to democracy.
100%. And what I would
Now,
tell you
how
guys,
do you, if you're Act Blue and you're these big guys, what do you have to do? Cover your fucking tracks.
so with that, I will give a teaser here. You want to watch the Alpha Warrior show on Tuesday next week. For those of you that have been asking, where's my buddy Sean Taylor? For those, I don't know if you know who Sean is. I think Josh.
I know who he is. I don't know him very well, but.
And exactly what you talked about right now, this guy is in the thick of it.
Right. And then you go to Arizona and you
Yes.
start talking about cartels,
Yes.
politicians. Cartels come in, buy a politician's house or rental house for 10 times, 20 times the actual value that politician sells because it was a great deal. I couldn't let it go. And now they owe the cartel favors. This is all how this money laundering operation works. But the one thing we have to understand is that there has to be, number one, inventory. Where do you get inventory? Well, you get it from these large banks that have these homes that can be utilized, and the records and the documents can all be swayed. So who knows if Blackstone had a person inside that was feeding them fake documents, deeds, and stuff like that, and they're altering one or two numbers. Act Blue was going out there, spoofing that, using this to draw mortgages, funding these operations through shell companies and laundering that money to politicians. But I have a feeling that that false flag that we just saw something to do with that, because it literally just broke 2 days ago.
Deeds and commas, folks. Deeds and commas. And from what Sean has told me, it is a time sensitive show. It's why I told a lot of you guys to repost his posts from, I think it was yesterday, as a matter of fact. And he is going to give us some exclusive information on Tuesday. So we're actually going to record it this weekend. And then we will make sure that it's vetted and everything that's in there can be shared.
I spoke at an event with, I think, Sean and Mark Finchman.
Yep.
In Oregon. So yeah, I know.
Yeah, they've been bouncing around. So tune in for that. So there's that. I want to get everybody thinking on that stuff. We covered that. First arrests. You want to get into this conversation a little bit right here?
Comey.
You want to give a little bit more than that, and then I'll tell you who my two picks are.
Why do I think James Comey? The reason is James Comey is not the mastermind. We know from past historical context. If we go to the Q post where he talks about Admiral R having the Loretta Lynch, Bill Clinton tarmac recording, taking it to James Comey on October 30th, and using it as pressure and leverage, and Comey caved and reopened the Clinton email investigation because of what Admiral R did by pressuring him, which shows you that that Comey is not the leader. Comey is a soldier, and that Comey has a weakness and will absolutely cave, that he has a conscience, and that you can pressure Comey to basically narc on everybody else, to take down everybody else. And I think that Comey, which we just saw, 2 weeks ago, Brennan and Comey were the first two investigations announced. I think that Comey will be the first arrest out of those investigations.
I think he makes my top 5. Absolutely.
Not even top 3?
I would say top 3. Yeah, I'd give top 3.
You feel a little bit better.
Because the other two that I potentially see is James Clapper or Rod Rosenstein.
Oh, Rosenstein, McCabe. A lot of these come in. And there's other people that we're not even mentioning in all of this. What about Gina Haspel? She was the one withholding intel directly from Donald Trump during 2020. from 2016, or when she came in 2016 to 2019 when she left. So we have to understand there's a lot of people that would not even think about that could be integrated and implicated in all of this. But I think that the first big name that we're going to see, James Comey.
And I think the likelihood with that being accurate, there's a lot of stuff that has happened already that supports that. With the seashells, him being brought in for questioning, they've already seeded that mindset. And that's why I think the likelihood is there. Plus,
so what if James Comey planting the seashells like that and put it on social media? He knew, remember, this is after Trump got elected.
Right.
He knew Trump was coming back in. So he plants this. He knew that that would prompt a Secret Service and FBI response, which means that they would come in and talk to him privately and interview him. And what if he already talked?
And it gives him cover.
It gave him cover.
And I'm absolutely there with you, because again, we know, and we've said this from the beginning of the seashell gate, there's no way he didn't know what it meant. And it was actually absolutely done on purpose. And so then the theory there is, if you know that that's going to generate a Secret Service thing, why would you be an idiot to do it? And you just provided the argument there. So let's go through this first week of August and see if there's any clues in here. Obviously, there's tons of drops. I didn't include all of them. I just included a few from the days, I think, going up to like maybe the 10th or 11th. So there's just a few here, as you guys can see on the screen. There's not very many. So this is,
by the way, when you go into the August Q drops, you'll start talking about Chuck Grassley, and the corn is getting ready for harvest.
wait.
Talk about corn.
Don't get the corn yet. Don't get the corn yet. Hold on, because it's.
I'm telling you, it's Comey.
It's in there. Misspellings matter. We're going 3569 August 1st, 2019. It's a link to a Fox News politics. DOJ will not prosecute Comey for leaking memos after IG referral source. Bigger slam dunk charges coming. So again, this supports Josh's theory on Comey. Public understanding of events just around the corner. So let's keep going, because these ones that I picked definitely support your position here. If we go into, let's get these ads off of there. 4620 July 31st, 2020. I actually had these two backwards, but it's okay. This is a long one. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We could save it for later. We'll save that one for later. Let me actually put it right there. That's where it's supposed to be. So now here's one on the timing of the arrest. So did I jump too far ahead? No, there we go. Bigger slam dunk. This one said maybe all these got out of sequence, but we'll just roll with that. They come. So this is 4674, and this is dated September 11th, 2020. And if there's anything that screams Josh is right, it's the fact that you have James Comey treason, James Comey treason, James Comey treason, James Comey treason, James Comey.
But you know, it's interesting too as well, Alpha, that 2 posts were made that day, September 11th, 2020. One at 8:38 p.m. and one at 8:34 p.m. Okay?
This is the 834 one.
Yep. That's the first one is James Comey. The second one is...
Here, you bring it up. I want to see it.
John Brennan. Who are the 2 that the DOJ announced under investigation? James Comey, John Brennan, September 11th, 2020, 8:34. First one is James Comey. Second one is John Brennan. Who's going to be the first arrest? James Comey. He's telling us right here.
His timing's first. His timing's first.
I'm telling you, the Q boards have laid it all out, people.
So if we keep continuing, we get to September 21st, right here, 2264. Comey and McCabe talking. Next comes New York Times article against RR, Rod Rosenstein. Panic. Alliances forming. These people are stupid. We get into the next post. This is August 2nd. So obviously these got out of.
You gotta bring it back up.
Let me go back to. Oh, yeah, I'm weird. Not even showing you guys. Thank you, brother. So let me go back to the one prior to this. This one's 22, and they got out of sequence. My apologies, folks. I don't know how the heck it happened. I think I know what happened. 2264, September 21st. This one says Comey and McCabe talking. Next comes and New York Times article against RR, Rod Rosenstein. Panic alliances forming. These people are stupid. And then obviously you got the screenshot from 2155, which is panic in DC. Comey in communication with McCabe regarding testimony and story. And then when we go to the next one, this is back to August 2nd. This is post 1802. Something big is about to drop. We covered that earlier in the show. Then when we move to August 3rd, it has two links. The first one is a judicial watch, and it's regarding DOJ paperwork with Hillary Clinton on it, part 24 of 24. And then the second link is a Twitter post from Jordan Chantel, and it says, "We have the servers," which I think plays into what you established earlier in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we go to August 6th, 1822, this one reads, I'm going to read this one. Psychological projection. Define conspiracy. Number 1, a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful, a conspiracy to destroy the government. Number 2, the action of plotting or conspiring. They were cleared of conspiracy to pervert the course of justice. Fake news in brackets. Fake news collaborating, pushing knowingly false information. Fake news knowingly false narrative pushes. And then here, 1, POTUS colluded with Russia to win the 2016 election. 2, POTUS is a puppet to Putin. 3, POTUS to irreparably harm relationships with our allies. 4, POTUS will collapse U.S. economy. 5, POTUS will collapse stock market. 6, POTUS will cause war with North Korea. 7, POTUS will cause war with Iran. 8, POTUS will destroy the world. 9, on and on, knowingly false. Fear and scare push. They would rather see NK peace negotiations fail, war, than see POTUS resolve. Scandalous media bias, conspiracy, collaboration. What are they hiding? Fake news media is not free and independent. Fake news media equals propaganda arm of the Democratic Party. Think WikiLeaks list of journalists who colluded with HRC DNC 26 presidential election. They want you divided by race, divided by religion, by culture, by class, by political affiliation. You divided, you are weak. Together, you are strong. You, the people, have the power. This movement challenges their force narrative. This movement challenges people to not simply trust what is being reported. Research for yourself. Think for yourself. Trust for yourself. This movement is not about one person or a group of people. We, the people. You're witnessing a full panic by the fake news media and covert alt media affiliates, foreign government. Is any of this normal? I skipped a line. They cannot contain or defeat what they cannot do or what they do not understand. Is any of this normal? Think sealed indictments count. Think resignations of CEOs. Think resignations of senators. Think resignations of Congress. Think termination of senior FBI. Think termination of senior DOJ. Watergate times 1,000. Attacks will only intensify. Logical thinking. Ask yourself a simple question. Why? And the reason I wanted to read that one out, Josh, is because it essentially describes everything that we're hearing from D&I Gabbard right now. It's describing everything we're seeing in the media. And it's as specific as getting some of the right countries right, is everything that we've been told in the last 6.5 months of his presidency. And I think that held a lot of relevance. I don't know if you want to comment on that before I move to the last few.
No, go ahead.
All right. So moving on from that one brings us to August the 9th, post 1827. And it says, enjoying every second of it. And it says, comfy previews are over, showtime. So if we're looking at the date here, August 9th, we're looking at July 30th being, hey, hunters become the hunted. The clock just started. And then we're looking here at about a week and a half after the clock just started. And you have Q saying previews are over, showtime. I think this is a strong indicator of moving into the final phase of what we're seeing unfold here. Going on to the next one, we have this is the clip I wanted to play for us. And this is great as we bring the show to end here. This is 1831. This is August 10th. It says, does POTUS make statements that are false? Knowing what you know now, start at 12 o'clock. And I have it queued up for that when we go there. And it's a YouTube link. Think Haiti, 1440. Think Watergate Commission, removed, why we investigate. Listen very carefully. Truth, surrounded by evil. Never stop praying. Where we go one, we go all. Now I got to pull this off the screen because I got to share it on the tab only so you guys can hear the audio on this. And it's about 4 minutes. Let me see. 1 second, folks. There we go. And let me go full screen. This is an old video, and you guys are gonna absolutely love this. It just, this is the first time I've heard this one in a few years, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And it hits hard. Here we go.
The issue of going to confession, or as Hillary calls it, the 4th of July weekend with FBI Director Comey. Now, I'm told Hillary went to confession before tonight's event, but the priest was having a hard time when he asked her about her sins, and she said she couldn't remember 39 times. Nah. Hillary is so corrupt. She got kicked off the Watergate Commission. How corrupt do you have to be to get kicked off the Watergate Commission? Pretty corrupt. Mm-hmm. Hillary is and has been in politics since the 70s. What's her pitch? The economy is busted. The government's corrupt. Washington is failing. Vote for me. I've been working on these problems for 30 years. I can fix it, she says. I wasn't really sure if Hillary was going to be here tonight because I guess you didn't send her invitation by email. Or maybe you did, and she just found out about it through the wonder of WikiLeaks. We've learned so much from WikiLeaks. For example, Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary, you're right. For example, here she is tonight in public, pretending not to hate Catholics. Now, if some of you haven't noticed, Hillary isn't laughing as much as the rest of us. That's because she knows the jokes. And all of the jokes were given to her in advance of the dinner by Donna Brazil, which is, everyone knows, of course, Hillary's belief that it takes a village, which only makes sense, after all, in places like Haiti, where she's taken a number of them. Thank you. I don't know, and I don't want this evening without saying something nice about my opponent. Hillary's been in Washington a long time. She knows a lot about how government works. And according to her sworn testimony, Hillary has forgotten more things than most of us will ever know. That I can tell you. We're having some fun here tonight, and that's good. On a personal note, what an amazing honor it is.
All right. And then he goes into thanking his father. Anything you want to bring up? And I'll bring up the couple of points that I caught on that.
Yeah. Do you notice the demeanor between Donald Trump then and Donald Trump now? Did you see how nervous he was? Because for anybody out there, he had made quips and talked about things, but that was a direct attack and assault on the deep state, saying, I know everything, you son of a bitches. And he was nervous doing that because he knew this is the beginning. This is the start. And, you know, you see Maria Bartiromo in the background, like,
yes.
Like, this was shots fired. And this is when the deep state knew that, oh man, he's not joking. He's
going
not just
public.
trying for power. He's really coming after us.
So one thing, and I'm glad you caught it, his confidence wasn't what it is today.
Oh no.
In there at all. And I think it's what you picked up right there. It was that nervous, like, okay, here we go.
This is it.
Here we
There's
go.
no turning back from this point.
There's not. And you could see Hillary was pissed, even in the fake, laughter and smiles. And there were certain things, when the camera panned on her, that she was real pissed. The first thing I want to say is he said, 39 confessions.
Do we know what that represents?
39
classified SAP and Orcon emails that she lost that was investigated by the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, McCullough, that we talked about on these previous episodes. So the question is it 36 or 39? It's between 36 and 39. It's 36 SAP emails, and I think three are Orcon, and there's a few TS in there. But that's what he's talking about. And that's what I'm saying. The Q stuff started with stolen military secrets, people.
The next thing I want to get your thoughts on, when he said Watergate. Again, he's referencing the boards there in the roast of Hillary.
Yep.
Absolutely. He brings up emails, the WikiLeaks, again, to confirm exactly what you're talking about with the confessions going back.
And it's almost like a silent confirmation of the conclusions made by everybody who saw the WikiLeaks.
It is. And this is what caught my attention. I listened to it 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And it was on the final time, the third time that I listened to it today, that I said, why did he choose the order like that? And I think he's showing the chain of events of probably how this RICO case is going to unfold. That's what I'm thinking, because what's the last thing he hit her with? The kids that she takes from Haiti, which would be Epstein.
Guardians of the pedophiles.
And I think that's why if you look at the way he roasted her, it's in the order of how we're seeing things unfold right now with the disclosures and the declassifications in real time. And so if that's how they're going to prosecute it, then I think Epstein will be the final nail in the coffin when they actually do the legitimate investigation. And so then the last couple things that I'll bring up, and then we'll do the rumble run to call it, is, remember earlier we saw this photo in the Michael Flynn post.
Yep.
Well, I just want to remind everybody, this is a Q post.
It is.
And this is post 4012. And pretty much 99.999% plus a 0.01%.
That he didn't go to the Q boards to pull that photo off. That he just went into a file on his computer and uploaded it up to X. Probably. I would say that's exactly what happened.
He went to the file.
He'd probably yell at us if we said that to him, but hey, we know, Flynn. We know.
He probably went to the file on his computer when he uploaded it to the Q boards. I'm just playing, General. I'm just playing. And then the last one, 2266, September 21st, 2018. This one stuck out in my mind. Like I said, detective, the first thing that comes to your mind, we pay attention to it. And the date here is 9/21, folks. It's a 2018 year, but 9/21. Now, if we're looking at these end of July and August information and these first arrests and potential indictments and these more declassifications that are coming, Josh, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. The more we corner the deep state, how much more dangerous do they get?
More dangerous. When do they expend ammunition? Right?
That's exactly where I want people's thought process to go here. Because how often do you see on the boards where the president's pictured holding a gun?
Very rare.
And so if 9/21 and these particular posts have relevance to the time we're playing now, this is what it says. Remain calm. It's a screenshot with the word live, which I will read this as live instead of live for this particular post. Patriots are in control. And then the description for the file is Trump, remain calm, Patriots are in control. It says, what a show. You are watching the systematic destruction of the old guard. Power will return to the people. Q. And what I think is, I don't know if he's signaling around this date or maybe this exact date. There might be an attempt on his life, and that's why you see this cocked revolver in his hand. But it's saying remain calm. And what that would signal to me is no matter what they try to do, he is going to be fine. They cannot take him out. He is absolutely insulated. And with that,
so now go to post 4 or 6 on the boards.
All right, I'm on 4 October 29th, 2017.
So that's only about a month and 8 days after the one you just showed, right?
Right.
Some of us come here for drops. Some of us come here to drop crumbs, just crumbs. POTUS is 100% insulated. Any discussion to suggesting he's even a target is false. He will not be addressing the nation on any of these issues as people begin to be indicted and must remain neutral for pure optical reasons. To suggest this is a plan is false and should be common sense. Focus on military intelligence, state secrets, and why might that be used versus any 3-letter agency. What Supreme Court decision opened the door for a sitting president to activate? What must be showed? Why is POTUS surrounded by generals? Again, there's a lot more good people than bad, so have faith. This was a hostile takeover from an evil, corrupt network of players, not just Democrats. Don't fool yourself into thinking Obama, Soros, Roths, Clinton, etc. have more power present day than POTUS. Operation Mockingbird. Patriots are in control. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Freaking solid. Freaking solid, bro.
I know.
That is freaking absolutely love that. Let me bring these Rumble rants on the board real quick so we can share. Let me close that browser and let me bring in this browser right here. Let me scroll to the bottom and see if I can make this a little bit bigger, easier to read for the people. There we go. Now let's scroll. All right, here we go. $5 from DevHouse1. Oh, hold on. There we go. We'll get back to you again, DevHouse. $5 from S Jones 39. $5 challenge for Great Warriors. Thank you for that, S Jones. Susie Q20, where we go one, we go all. Challenge met. Thank you for that, Susie. $5 from Stuck Patriot. Less than 10 know the plan. The rest of us are blessed to know Josh Opedia and Alpha. I like that, man. That was pretty cool. Now we get to $5 from DevHouse1. Challenge accepted. Thank you for that. $5 from V Rumen. Back at ya. I like how they got this all started. $5 from Uncle O. My new favorite show, where we go one, where we go all. Love that. Looks like we got new monthly supporter from the hour 17. Awesome. $20 from Shally Jian, 2 of my favorite podcasters. $5 from Garden Guys. On the Q400 AA plane, I thought it crashed on the island that Washington owned by the contractor. I have flown on these Q440s out of Seattle. A lot of special pilot required to fly. I posted pics, the Alpha's X. You got any
So it was, the island was actually owned by Bill Gates, who bought it from a defense contractor.
No shit.
Catch Run Island.
Dollar coming from over 9,000 games. At over 9,000 games. All right, I'll go find you and follow you. Let's see. $2 from Susan Dalballo. The music in my head.
Timber. I remember that.
The Kennedy kids singing Timber. It's going down. You got to see. You got to come on. Yeah, come on, Josh. One more time.
Timber. It's going down. I just spent a whole weekend singing karaoke. Come on.
$1 from Jim Moore. Alpha. I can't find that on newsmax.com. Jonathan Gregory doesn't work for them. Validate the source. Send me or tag me in a DM so I can send you the link to that so you can backtrack the sourcing on it. I'll do it with you as well. So make sure you either email me or DM me, whatever social you have me on. $20 from Mr. Z. Who needs a script when you have the human encyclopedia? Great show, guys. Couldn't agree anymore with that. $50. Wow. $50 from Hope Continues. Love your show. Thank you. We love your support.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
$2 coming from Risto73. Alpha, you're the shit. Love you, brother, and thank you for your service. You did timber, bro, so I had to come back with one. $20 from Claudia Kiesel. Love you guys on Defcon 0. Been awake a long time, but always learning something new. It's an ongoing process that just keeps on expanding at every level. United States Air Force Space Command, Vet 81 to 87, Semper Supra. Right on, man. Thank you for your service as well. $5 from Ziggy Girl. Bush used Epstein as opposition research to distract from 9/11, Patriot Act. $2 trillion lost by the Pentagon, but Epstein led to Hillary. Hillary went after Trump. Bad choice. We have it all. Bush envelope.
Envelopes. Yep.
$10. Alternative 94. The timeline is converging with Q Post, and you guys are hitting on all of the marks. Hands down, my new favorite show. Finally, a show that breaks down significant Q posts and current comms from the White Hats. So thank you for that.
Well, and to that point, by the way, I know there's a lot of other Q fluencers out there that do decodes and breakdowns. Just know that you heard it here first. And they're listening right now and they know what we're talking about. But just know you heard it here first. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
If you want to steal my work, that's fine. Go ahead. But at least give me some credit.
At least give a hat tip.
Yeah.
Hat tip. That's all.
You know, and we know he posts a lot of my stuff on his show now. But he gives me the credit. He's a Josh Reid out there in the X world is talking about this, and
it's cool. I love it. An audience member sent me X22. He put one of my posts out there, and I was like, "How cool is that?" You know, I remember listening to Dave for a long time back when I had time to do it.
Just saying is give credit where credit's due, because back in the Q days, Jerome Corsi, if people remember how horrible his fucking decodes were, what he did was stealing other people's decodes and then was charging behind a paywall for people to come and read them. And that's why Alex Jones, Jerome Corsi, and all that got kind of kicked out of that Q circle. Just
that's dirty South. That's one of the things I like to do is, especially on my show, is when I bring up a post, I like to show the who it came from. I mean, give the people credit for their work. This one, new monthly supporter from 2F17. Thank you for being a monthly supporter now. $10 from Faith and Freedom. Thank you, gentlemen. This is absolutely my new favorite show. Great job. But thank you for that. $10 coming in. Wow, there's a lot of these here. Thank you guys. $10 from RPG 3573. Great show.
Hi, RPG.
$20 coming from Nevada Night Owl. Another good one, guys. Thank you. And
they're all gonna be good ones, people.
They absolutely are. And what the timing of this show is so great with where we're going and what's going to be unfolding, bro. $2 from Grease Monkey 58. Chupacabra translated is goat sucker, meaning they're going to be sucking up the goat. GJT. Yeah, it is it's what do you call those? Not a fable, like a wise man's tale out of Mexico with the chupacabra vampires.
Yeah. It's an alien or a weird cryptic animal.
Some weirdo thing. Yeah. $5 from Ziggy Girl. Trump says Epstein is a hoax. Q Post 2005. Investigation on Epstein 2005. Who was the first ICIG? Under Obama, 2011, Charles McCullough began his career as a special agent with the FBI 10 years prior.
That's right.
$5 come from Mrs. Rhea Freedom Fighter. Great show, guys. Thank you for that. $5 from Vegas Deplorable 26. Once again, gentlemen, damn good show. Alpha, whenever you're ready, I'll tell you the story. Josh, you never fail to amaze me. A beautiful mind, and I am looking forward to that story, brother. I will give you a call probably Thursday or Friday. Monday to Wednesdays are just they're brutal on me, man. $2 again. Vegas Deplorable. I think Nunez did an interview with X22 Dave not too long ago. They personally know each other through their love of wine. I did not know that. I'll have to go look for that. If you got the link, send it to me, Vegas. $1, Mrs. Ray, Freedom Fighter. Don't forget your YouTube, homies. All right, I'll look at that. See what we got over there. $2, Susan DeBallo. Others should credit. We are a movement. We are better by the sum of our parts. I agree. And that brings an end to the 17 rants. Look at that, folks.
Wow.
If you guys
and everybody else, thumbs up, people. Thumbs up. Let's get this trending on Rumble.
And I don't see any boosts because it was showing StreamYard if we had.
I didn't see any coming in on YouTube.
Yeah, and shout out to Carmen Love 79, who just as the gates are closing became a monthly supporter. Thank you for that, Carmen. So if you did do what do they call on YouTube?
Super chat.
Super chat. If you did do a super chat and it's not showing, please email me at alpha@thealphawarrior.tv and I will make sure to bring it up on next week's Defcon. But I'm not seeing it, folks. So I just don't want you to. I think we're forgetting about you. So with that, Josh, anything you got coming up that you want to let everybody know about? And we're over 2 hours and a quarter, so we'll do the
2 hours and 15 minute show. Love it, man. And I hope that everybody is getting some benefit from this, especially with the cube boards, because I know they can be confusing, especially when you got different people saying different things. But just remember, you heard it here first.
You absolutely did. Me and Josh will hit the whiteboard again. We're shooting for a 90-minute show so we could do the phones because we know it's a late night show. We know some of you are on the East Coast and we're trying to be conscious of that. So we just got on fire tonight, folks, and we just kept going. So we will shoot for 90 minutes of content with 20 minutes, 30 minutes of phone time next time. So with that, you guys, you can find everything Alpha at alphawarrior.tv. Make sure you go and search out redpills.tv. I got that right? Redpills.tv.
Yeah, redpills.tv, or if you're on X and you're watching right now, follow at Real Joshua Reid, at Real Joshua Reid, last name spelled R-E-I-D. Or if you guys are on the Substack, redpillproject.substack.com, as well as Alpha Warrior. Give your Substack out there and your X out there, buddy.
Absolutely. It's Alpha Warrior Show. Go to alphawarrior.tv and you'll find everything Alpha. There's too many handles, man. But alphawarrior.tv, you'll find it. Links in the description. We'll have it. You guys, on your way out, do us a solid. Content is free. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, smash that thumbs up. Put us on the leaderboard again, and we'll catch you guys next week, Tuesday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern live. God bless, Semper Fi, and peace.
Mr. Top.